Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a part 2 of the last video I did that showed the patterns of Ryan Reynolds allegedly taking people's work and using real life trauma and experiences in other people's lives to poke fun and further harass them. And now it was done where he took the Deadpool franchise. It's well known that he took that over. And now it happened to these two individuals a couple years ago. And now it's happening to Justin Baldoni. So 3 is a pattern. I read some of the comments that said it was still a little bit too complicated and it's a very complex situation. So in this video, I'm really going to try to break it down in simple terms and go over it and all the players involved and exactly the storyline to just kind of simplify it a little bit. And then I will walk you through the video examples. I just posted them in the last video without like explanation, but this time I'm just going to show only a few that are well documented and I feel prove the case that they indeed did not only steal these people's video game ideas, but also further harass them in their own projects. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Grab your emotional lip gloss, okay? Because we're going in. You are in frame with Mandy Magnan. Y'all know what? Let me just put my hair up for this one. Okay, so today we're going to dive into the gaming story. The story that is, it shook up and is still shaking up. A lot is still coming out about this very complex story in the gaming community as well as the Hollywood worlds. It involves a few key players who we'll get into, and yes, Ryan Reynolds, okay? This one is very complex, it's emotional, and it raises huge questions and major red flags, especially for me. Just the story is, oh my gosh, but it really is about power, creativity, and exploitation, as well as harassing people in your storytelling based on their real life's trauma and events. The key players here that you need to know, this is Eiko Ishiwata. Eiko is a Japanese-Canadian composer and indie game developer. She's known for her music and work on fantasy-style games. She's been a passionate solo creator for over a decade, creating everything from soundtracks to full RPG experiences. She is well known in the gaming community. This is her husband, Brett McDowell. Brett is a performer, a stand-in, a writer, as well as he was a performer and a stand-in to Ryan Reynolds on the set of Deadpool 2. And according to Eiko as well as Brett, that's where all these problems started, Deadpool 2. This is Rob McElhenney, who has been working with Ryan Reynolds for a long time, as well as they own the Wrexham Club together, and we'll get into his involvement with this, but he was in Free Guy, and yeah, this is Ryan Reynolds. Here are just a few of the allegations, simplified, just so we're all on the same page. These are allegations. Everything in this video is either an opinion, alleged, or for entertainment purposes only. But the allegations against Ryan Reynolds and WME, which is the talent agency that represents both Ryan as well as Rob. Professional misconduct. Eiko and Brett allege that Ryan Reynolds, represented by WME, engaged in actions that negatively impacted their careers. They suggest that Reynolds, his behavior possibly facilitated by WME, contributed to professional setbacks that they have experienced in the last few years, ever since all of this started happening, as well as creative appropriation. Brett, who previously worked on Deadpool 2, claims the elements of his personal experiences were used in Ryan Reynolds' other projects without his consent, and they express concern potential unauthorized use of their creative ideas as well in gaming as well as in their personal lives. Ryan Reynolds took and drew from their lives as well as their concept ideas from other video games and incorporated it into his own projects, along with Rob. You have unauthorized use of ideas. Brett alleges that creative ideas and elements from his personal life were taken in projects involving Ryan Reynolds, okay, without his permission or credit. And they imply that some of Brett's stories and experiences were repackaged specifically in projects like Free Guy and Deadpool and Wolverine. They have career interference. They claim that after Brett's work as a stand-in ended, things got worse. Ryan Reynolds and his team, possibly with the support of WME, deliberately created obstacles in their careers. They say this led to Brett's wife, Eiko, being shut out of opportunities in both the gaming and entertainment spaces. And that is after she reported being drugged at a gaming event, which we will go into. So again, silencing victims and shutting them out after speaking up about their experience. As well as mental health and harassment. So Eiko and Brett have both been vocal, very vocal, about the emotional toll this has taken on them. They've described years of psychological stress, isolation, and even say their situation contributed to major health care challenges. They say they filed formal complaints with the Canadian Human Rights Commission, which they have. The couple, Eiko and Brett, has filed multiple complaints with the Canadian Human Rights Commission since 2021, alleging discrimination and misconduct linked to their experiences in the entertainment industry. Eiko is an indie creator, and she says that this is also about a bigger problem in the gaming world where powerful players or companies can exploit or silence solo developers. Sound familiar? This is also in the entertainment and film world where bigger, powerful people like Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively think that they can silence and take projects that belong to other people who they believe are smaller than them, like Justin Baldoni. But Eiko says that the creative industry needs to do more to protect small creators from being erased. And I fully agree. So what does Ryan Reynolds have to say about this? Nothing. Nothing so far. Neither him nor WME has said anything, and it hasn't even been picked up in any major news outlets. I mean, it is now spreading online on Twitter, Reddit, here on YouTube, and in a niche gaming community, but nobody else has come out and talked about it. Major news outlets aren't picking it up, and this guy, Free Guy, Ryan Reynolds, hasn't even said anything. And Brett and Eiko have been very vocal about this, but I think because it's so complex and complicated and there's so many moving pieces that a lot of people don't understand, like the visual art aspects and how all of these little things are really stolen property from their work, it gets a little bit complicated and people kind of give up. So next, what I want to do is just simply go over how all of these people are involved, and hopefully it will help tie in from the last video. And before we get into it, we are going to be referencing Mythic Quest, which is here. It is a show that follows game developers as they navigate video games and developing video games, as well as Valiant Mirror, which is Eiko and Brett's video game that they had been designing. We'll get into it, but these are the two references, as well as Free Guy, the movie with Ryan Reynolds. And now this is right off of Twitter. I mean, Brett and Eiko have been very vocal about this, and this is straight from her Twitter. So this is public information that y'all can see, but basically she was asked to clarify, like a lot of people, to clarify exactly what is going on and how Ryan Reynolds is connected. So here we go. Let's see these dots. The thread breaks down what we believe is clear pattern of creative appropriation. In our view, Mythic Quest, ripped off our IP and personal story, and Free Guy, a film produced by and starring Ryan Reynolds, carried the same narrative forward on a bigger scale. The plot of Free Guy revolves around stolen IP from two game developers. That's not just a coincidence. That's happened to us. Here is some background information to understand. Studio Eikoishiwata is an indie media company run by her as well as Brett McDowell, and she founded it herself. These are our intellectual properties. One, video game, Valiant Mirror. Our main inspiration is the Final Fantasy series. Production was halted upon the discovery of Mythic Quest. All artwork from Valiant Mirror was created by Eiko with additional direction from her husband Brett. It's an indie film. The Watcher and the Wraith was an original concept developed under Studio Ishiwata, so Eiko and Brett's studio. They developed a film called The Watcher and the Wrath. A publicly released proof of concept trailer was created as part of their development phase. Full production was suspended after the release of Mythic Quest due to growing concerns about overlap with their visual and the narrative material. The series Mythic Quest, a scripted comedy about video game developers clearly inspired by Ubisoft, the real-life studio based in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Let me just say, like, really quickly on the monthly ad thing. I grew up French as my first language until my late teens, early 20s. So I learned a lot of words in French. That's why sometimes when I'm reading things, the syllable is saying it wrong, the syllable or things like that. And I was always called Montreal. That's just what I did. So I do try to break out of that habit. And I know there was a comment being like, why do you say it like that? You missed it. How you did blah, blah, blah. It's because I have languages in my head. Like when I read words and stuff, certain words, I learned how to read in French before English. And now I'm mostly English. So I switched it a lot. I also worked on my French Canadian accent. So there's just a lot of, a lot of things going on in my brain when I read things out. So sometimes I will say words wrong, or I'll refer to it as Montreal instead of Montreal. And I am trying, okay? So whatever. Let's continue. It was produced by Lionsgate, the same company behind Another Simple Favor starring Blake Lively. It was co-produced with Ubisoft, whose Montreal studio was active during the same period that they were publicly promoting Valiant Mirror and The Watcher and the Wrath. 2 dose. The connection with Ubisoft. Eiko has a long-standing professional connection with both past and current Ubisoft employees, of course. They were in discussions to hire one of Brett's childhood friends who worked at Ubisoft and was still employed there at the time. He signed a non-disclosure agreement with Studio Ishiwata. In 2017, she was the only woman and the only Japanese-Canadian composer. Already kudos to you, girl, for doing the damn thing. On stage during applause at the Montreal Video Game Symphony performed by the Montreal Symphony Orchestra, she stood out not only for her demographic identity, but also because her height is 5'9", which contrasts the average height for Japanese women, which is around 5'2", and men at 5'7". The event featured many Ubisoft-affiliated composers on stage, and the audience included a significant number of Ubisoft employees, including Ubisoft's role as the largest and most prominent game studio in Montreal at the time. Rob McElhenney, yeah, that was right, serves as a co-creator and showrunner of Mythic Quest. This guy's so wild. He also stars in Mythic Quest as Ian Grimm, one of the show's main protagonists. He's publicly stated that he drew inspiration from the Montreal video game industry while developing Mythic Quest. Ryan Reynolds stars in and served as lead producer on Free Guy, where he was heavily involved in the film's development, creative direction, and marketing. He stars in and co-produced Deadpool and Wolverine. He stars in and co-produced Deadpool 2. Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney's connections. Co-owned the Wrexham AFC Football Club, co-star in the documentary series Welcome to Wrexham, which chronicles the ownership of the team. Rob was reportedly cast in Deadpool and Wolverine, but did not appear in the film's final cut. Free Guy's plot, okay, this is where we'll get into some juiciness of it. Free Guy's plot centers on 2 indie game developers whose intellectual property is stolen. The film was produced by and stars Ryan Reynolds. Brett Douglas McDowell, her husband, worked as a stand-in on Deadpool 2, which was shot under the working title Caribbean Blue. Stand-ins are rarely credited at IMDb, but they have documentation confirming his role. And they do have the documentation that he actually did work as a stand-in for Ryan Reynolds. They filed multiple Canadian human rights complaints since 2021 involving issues connections to both Ryan Reynolds and Mythic Quest. Studio Ishiwata was based in Montreal, promoting Valiant Mirror when Mythic Quest showrunners were conducting their research for their show. Studio Ishiwata attended most game industry events, including Ubisoft, and has a professional film camera shooting during these events for Valiant Mere marketing. Oftentimes, Studio Ishiwata was often the only company with a dedicated film crew, drawing visibility and attention in spaces that Mythic Quest's creators were known to frequent. Brett, her husband, Chris Nichols, a visual effect artist, they worked both on Free Guy and Deadpool and Wolverine. William Grope, the storyboard artist, worked on Mythic Quest, Free Guy, and Deadpool and Wolverine. The Mythic Quest episode's Ever Light bears notable similarities to Studio Ishiwata's original IPs, Valiant Mere and The Watcher and the Wraith. They first noticed these overlaps because others had pointed them out independently. And then they're going to break down side by side visuals, themes, and motives. And they do say that some of them do seem very minor, right? Some of the changes, some of the color patterns, some of the little phrases, some of the things, it seems minor when you're looking at it because a lot of people don't do visual effects or gaming or development. So they do look a little bit minor. However, when you add it all together as a whole, it's mind-blowing. Now, I just want to go back quickly to Eiko's post on Twitter when she shares her experience of what happened to her. So she had already had contracts in the works to work on future projects and do all of the stuff, and they were already deep into the development of their video games. Now she's saying, and I'll read again, in 2017, I experienced an incident at the Game Developers Conference, GDC, in San Francisco that significantly impacted my career. In my personal experience, I believe I was drugged while at the Snowcastle Games booth promoting Earthlock. I'm not accusing anyone specifically, but this has been my genuine belief based on how I felt at the time. Following this event, I was not invited to contribute to any new projects, including Snowcastle Games, where they had previously indicated in writing that I would be the music director on Earthlock 2 and 3. To my understanding, this commitment was not upheld, and I was ultimately excluded from future projects. I suspect my inclusion may be related to me reporting what I believe to be a drugging incident. What they are claiming is that they were working already on their own project as well as a video game, and the showrunners from Free Guy as well as from Mythic Quest, Rob and Ryan, when they went to Montreal to go check out Ubisoft stuff and they went to all these gaming conferences and they did research, they took their ideas, and then not only that, their experiences as well as their service dog, and continued to mock them. So now what does this have to do with WME? Because as I said before, they're also claiming WME. Well, as we know, Ryan Reynolds is a client of WME. Well, guess who else? Rob. Rob is also a client of WME. And Eiko and Brett are saying that the relationship between WME clients and WME, especially this one with Ryan Reynolds, is very key because they claim that WME helped shield Ryan Reynolds from accountability or scrutiny regarding the alleged misuse of their creative ideas, and also the broader treatment within the industry with the celebrities who they have on their roster. Brett and Eiko suggest that WME may have used its power to suppress their careers or blacklist them in the industry. What does that sound like? Maybe Ari Emanuel, when he openly came out and said that he was the one who personally fired Justin Baldoni, is what he said, called him Baldoni and not Baldoni, his name. Also, when he was saying that Ryan Reynolds is going around telling WME that he should fire him as a client. And what did they do? They did it. So, I mean, it does seem like they might have something here when they're alleging that WME does help shield Ryan Reynolds and probably their top clients like Blake Lively from any accountability or scrutiny regarding all of these mishaps, all of these things that they do. I mean, now that we know all of the stuff that Blake and Ryan have done for so many years, how does that all get buried? How do they never have to be held accountable? Well, Eiko and Brett believe that WME's influence has prevented them also from getting any work recognition, and that's particularly in gaming, music, and the entertainment world, of course. They also frame this that not just a personal issue, but as a case study in how large agencies like WME can crush smaller independent voices like them, like Justin Baldoni, like Wayfair. You know, this is all the same, like how it started with Deadpool, right? They say WME's power allows celebrities and their teams to co-opt ideas from creatives without any consequences, as well as, I fully believe, get stories buried deep. And it's funny that Blake Lively can come out and say that, like, oh, the Wayfair parties tried to bury her, da 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 da, when every wrong thing that her and Ryan have done gets buried so deep, and they just write checks and pay people off and pay donations and do all of this stuff. It's just wild. This was the original email in April. I believe this was the first one that was sent. There was 3 now that came in from Brett McDowell. I write as a non-party individual in connection with the above caption matter. I respectfully request that the court ensure the preservation of all discovery materials, including internal communications, design documentation, and drafts relating to the creation, development, and portrayal of the character Nice Pool in Deadpool and Wolverine, and any related character likeness, including Dogpool. Recent admissions by Marvel Entertainment LLC made in its April 25th, 2025 letter motion to squash filed in Lively versus Wayfair Studios LLC regarding the creation and portrayal of the characters Nice Pool and Dogpool in Deadpool and Wolverine, including references acknowledging derivative, joke, and caricature elements, further reinforce the material relevance of the discovery material sought. These admissions shed new light on patterns of conduct at issue and support the inference that creative decisions may have been informed by real-world experiences, relationships, and prior notices of concern. Accordingly, full preservation and review of related development materials is critical to ensuring a fair and complete discovery record. Now, I am just going to walk you through some of the media. I'm not going to go over all of the comparisons again, unless you guys want. I can definitely do that. Hopefully, I get to talk to Brett and Eiko, and they can tell their story. So right now, I'm just going to walk you through a few of the video comparisons to really show, and I think these are like the most important ones that really show how they definitely use some of her story. So let's go through it.
Meet Eiko. Eiko here is the future of the streamer hustle. A 3D model that I can completely control in a mocap suit. It's a one-time cost, she never ages, or gets a better offer, and we can make her do whatever we want.
When they say that we can make her do whatever we want, Eiko feels like this is her, and we'll get into some of the references that she has, and it's actually mind-blowing the way they dressed her exactly like Eiko, likeness, everything. And she's saying because in a drugging, you drug someone, you know, so that you can do whatever you want to them.
Eiko.
So that is the name used. The character names are the exact same. The character name that they used, you know, pretty much it's pronounced almost the exact same, almost spelt the exact same. I mean, one letter off or something.
Are you kidding? I do have a name, you know. There we go. Eiko. I'm gonna call it Eiko.
Eiko.
Eiko is half
Eiko.
Eiko is half.
So in their game, they used Eiko, the character, and in this game, they're using Eiko. So the air date of this was February 7th, 2020. The Google image search results for Eiko Ishiwata before Eiko made her Twitter account private in July 2021. Prior to that, it was never private and was public information for the aforementioned time period. This is Eiko at the Earthlock in January 28th, 2017. I mean, they look identical. There's more. Look at the shirt that she is wearing when she went to this video game thingy. This was in July of 2018. Let me move myself here so you can see the actual likeness of the shirt that they put her in. Then we get into the theme that she did an acoustic for Final Fantasy, the visual VGM. This was done on August 19th, 2019. And then you can see that it's the same visuals that they use along the way. Like they take even like little similar visuals from her and put it into this character.
Eiko.
From her and put it into this character.
Eiko.
Now they have this character kissing. And with a heart. And it's exactly from her video from Final Fantasy, as well as these little characters that they use. The similarities are actually nuts.
My guy, I think, is a little bit better.
Your guy's got an ankle monitor.
Byron, what's that for? So, you know what? I don't want to know.
No one wants to know.
And then they go into a lot of comparisons when it comes to the game development, the end credits, the graphics. There's so much that was taken from them. And then especially with this other guy that Rob based his character off of, he says that he had never met Jason, but meant to be Jason. They hadn't met. And I don't know, it gets a little bit complicated after that. And then there is this tweet from Rob himself from the Jason guy who worked with Eiko at her development company, Ishiwata Studios. And Rob even says, because Jason, I guess, tweeted, very much looking forward to your new show. Also, you're welcome, because he used his exact likeness and his entire persona as his character and the protagonist of the show. And then Rob even said, hi, we've never met, but I'd like to. Ian is an amalgam of a bunch of CDs I met, plus a little of my own flair and a ton of creative license. But your beard game put mine to shame, so some pointers would be appreciated. Funny how he says that on two separate occasions, he never met this Jason guy who his character is based off, but then you see this interview and multiple interviews like this.
What you saw there helped formulate this.
Yes. Well, one of the first people I met was a gentleman, middle-aged gentleman, and he had a big beard, and he was walking with a cane, even though he clearly didn't need a cane. I think it was just sort of an accoutrement. And I said, hello. He said, hello. I said, so what do you do? He said, I'm a creative director. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. What is a creative director? And he sort of like looked out into the distance and like took a moment, and he said, I build worlds. And I was like, can you excuse me for 1 second? And I left and I called Charlie and I was like, we need to do a show about these people. This guy.
Right. You went there, you met these people, and then you made a show about them. But then when the show comes out, you say you've never met them. You've never met this Jason guy. This wasn't the first time that he regurgitated this story. And this reminds me a lot of Blake and Ryan's interviews, where they just make stuff up. Especially Blake just makes stuff up all the time that isn't true. And a lot of people in the gaming community noticed that Rob was literally talking about this Jason dude. It says here, he was absolutely talking about you here, right? And Jason says, all in black, rings, necklaces, beard with a cane, pretentious stare off into the distance. Doesn't sound like me.
Approached by this company called Ubisoft, which is one of the biggest gaming studios in the world. And they invited me to come check out this game development studio, and it was really cool. So we walk in, and originally I was reticent to want to do a show in this industry for various reasons, but I was on the fence, but I figured, hey, it's a free trip to Montreal. I'd never been to Montreal. Let's go drink on their dime. That would be cool. And so I walk into this game studio, And I'm looking around, and I see this guy, and he's like out, like across the hall, and he's dressed head to toe in black. He's got these cowboy boots, and he's got rings and necklaces and this long beard, and he had a cane, right? But he was probably 35. And I realized there was no limp or anything like that. He was just, I realized it was like just an accoutrement, like a little like artistic flourish that he had. And I walked up to him and I said, hey, how you doing, pal? He said, good. I said, what do you do? He said, I'm a creative director. I said, I don't know what a creative director does. What is that? And he just sort of took a moment, like a longer moment than he should have. And he like looked out into the distance, which was mostly like fluorescent lights. And he goes, brother, I build worlds.
So which is it? You claim that you've never met him before. You even told him yourself with a retweet, we've never met. But yet you're doing interviews saying that you met him and had conversations with him and then called and said, yo, we need to make a series. We need to do a project on these people. Which people? Jason, Eiko, Brett, their company. It's interesting, to say the least. Then they get into a lot of the Ubisoft things, a lot of their policies, things like that it's just so intricate. And that's a whole other series, I feel like, the whole stuff with Ubisoft. But now we're going to go into a few characters that were complete ripoffs of real life people, in my opinion, of course, alleged. And not only did they take Eiko's likeness as a person and her story and a few similarities from her real life experience, as well as Brett, and we'll get into how they used Ryan Reynolds literally went on a mission to use his service dog in the new Deadpool and Wolverine after working with him and meeting him on Deadpool 2. We'll get into that. But they also, let's just play it. Let's just play it, guys, because wowzers. So this is one of the real life characters. Like, he's a real dude.
Or gets a
Look
better
who they
offer,
cast.
and we can make her do whatever we want.
Dana. Dana is the new streamer.
No, she's too good looking. No one's gonna believe that she's a real gamer.
She's too good looking. No one's going to believe she's a real gamer. In a report submitted to La Guilde, Eiko stated that an individual told her, you were drugged because you are so beautiful at GDC in 2017. Now, I just want to go into a few of the character comparisons that I was talking about moments ago, y'all. Let's just go into a few of the character comparisons. This one is a very short video. It's about 3 minutes. And then I want to show side by sides and then get into just one last thing with the court and the audacity of Ryan and Blake. Okay. So this is the actress that they have played this character. They're going to go into the GDC photos that they have from 2017. Look at this real life human being. You cannot tell me that that is not based off the same person. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, they're casting comparisons for sure, real life casting comparisons. This is Paul from Mythic Quest, the show that Rob and Ryan did. This is Brett McDowell, Eiko's husband, who we talked about, of course. This is his IMDb, his YouTube. This was in November 9th of 2013. Now look at the side-by-sides. Come on. It's like perfect casting, if you ask me. Definitely similarities. Definitely.
No, an RPG hit our armored personnel carrier outside Basra. It punched a fist-sized chunk of shrapnel into my spine.
And now this is where it irritates me, because Brett Douglas McDowell is a veteran with the Canadian military. Okay? Ooh, let's go. Watcher and the Wrath, that's their short. Valiant mirrors the video game, and Colony is the guard where he played, and this plays
I heard
on
that you have
Bravo.
a bad back, so I got you a standing desk.
Thank you. That's
Brett broke his back. This is public information in 2018 while in Montreal, networking from 2018 to 2020 in the game industry. He told several people in the industry that he was recovering from a back injury. And isn't it so weird that in Mythic Quest, the show that Rob did, that character who looks just like Brett has a back injury? And how did he get it? Let's play that again.
an RPG hit our armored personnel carrier outside Basra. Yeah, punched a fist-sized chunk of shrapnel into my spine.
From being at war in a battle where Brett is a Canadian military person, as well as he hurt his back during this time of promoting the film in the gaming community. And then they just have to add in that this character specifically.
So I got you a standing
Wow,
desk.
thank you. That's
Come on.
Ian was unable to emasculate the giant programmer guy, so...
A lot of indigenous tribes, and I think the locals...
Should I be taking notes?
They also... Oh, gosh. Tie in his indigenous roots.
Eso sería 100 años de soledad en su lengua materna.
Huh?
100 years of solitude.
So not only do they copy his status as a veteran in the military, his back problems, his indigenous roots, but also the magical realism that they do and that they are known for in their projects. It's too much. It's a lot. Like, this is completely ripping off these people's real life identities, trauma. I just want to show you here that this is Brett Douglas's McDowell's call sheet on Deadpool 2, which is titled Caribbean Blue. So he definitely was there when he says he was there. It's just to like clarify that, you know, they're telling the truth here, okay?
Many times higher.
Now to break it down visually really quickly, they had this like comic book kind of graphic thing, and I thought this really breaks it down so you can see side by side exactly what's going on and all of the similarities that are here, okay? And it gets a little wild. So of course we already did go over Brett. Do you know Brett looks exactly like the guy that they cast on Mythic Quest? I mean, it's a starking resemblance, okay, if you look at them. And then you have Eiko, and it says as a joke, there's another character wearing Eiko's hair, clothing, and glasses, right? Yes, that is a photo of her when she was drugged at the convention. This is her, and then this is the girl that they put in the show. Really? Then you have the heart that they used in the hair. I mean, the name is just too much. I mean, you have Eiko and then you have Eiko. What's the difference? The shirt, even I mean, how do you look at the shirt? Really off the shoulders kind of shirt like that? Like, that's the one that you went with. The hairstyles and makeup are pretty much the exact same. They're both blowing kisses. She blew the kiss in one of her things, and they have this girl doing it. I mean, oh my gosh. And those are just a few examples, and there are way, way, way more. Like, if you guys watch all of these videos, there's so many similarities. They cannot say that they did not really steal these people's lives and poke fun at and make fun of them. And then you have this guy too who was cast, and they're saying that looks almost exactly like Brett too, and I would agree. I mean, this is Brett, I guess, when he attended the hottest mega mix after party. And yeah, okay, there's more. I guess Brett went like a little undercover at this after party to try to figure out who drugged Eiko. And so that's why he was wearing glasses and stuff. And then that's him and why he has glasses. And then they cast the guy like with the glasses. It's just kind of funny. And then they're saying that even this girl that they cast, they just kind of like whitewashed her a little bit. And that they do have striking resemblances. And now let's get into Starbuck, the service dog. This is their real life dog who was on the set of Deadpool 2. And now Ryan Reynolds said that he went on this huge mission to try to find the ugliest dog. And look at the dog he picked. I mean, guys, the comparison, come on, you can't. And then when you look at Deadpool, or when you look at Dogpool in the comic books, this is the way he looked. And Nicepool's character, I guess, in the comic books only, was only there to introduce Dogpool as the character. But I mean, look at the comparisons in Dogpool. You cannot say that this is not poking fun of them some more. Look at these comparisons. Look at even the pictures that they took. Oh my gosh. And then you have Nicepool here. They think that they was further making fun of Brett some more. And look at that. Yee-hoo. Ryan Reynolds set to build a massive film studio in the Toronto area. I guess I probably won't be working at that studio if I can imagine because, you know, I don't think Ryan Reynolds is going to like me very much after all these videos. And there's so many more comparisons. There are so many more comparisons when it comes to the graphics, the coloring, the art used, the posters, even the trailers. The trailer of Deadpool versus Wolverine is an almost exact stolen shot from the Wrath movie that they created. It's absolutely diabolical. But I feel like when Ryan Reynolds has somebody or an idea of something or wants to make fun of someone, he goes all the way. Look at what he did to Justin Baldoni with the Nicepool character. He gets obsessive. I feel like Blake and Ryan get really obsessive about their enemies and they go all the way in. And this is just a little bit, but I hope this really cleared a little bit of the confusion. I know it's a very complex story with developers and gamings and ideas and storytelling and that, but it does have striking similarities to what Justin Baldoni is going through right now, as well as what happened in Deadpool when Ryan Reynolds took over that franchise. Justin Baldoni is now the third film that this has happened to. I feel so bad for Brett and Eiko. I mean, it's clear as day the similarities, and if you look side by side at all the graphics and everything going on, they ripped off their property. Rob and Ryan, I fully believed, with the help of whoever else, did steal their intellectual property. And it's just so sad also for Eiko to have reported what happened to her at the GDC and then be silenced and pushed out. Isn't Blake right now fighting every day? She says in the media, well, not every day. I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating, but every time she's in the media, she's speaking up for women, silenced voices, etc., etc., etc. Yet Ryan Reynolds is doing this to a woman who was drugged, taking all of their ideas, making fun of their dog, making fun of them in real life with his buddy Rob. It's so gross, guys. Like, it's so intricate, and I feel like it's been going on for a very, very, very long time. But I hope this kind of cleared some stuff up. I mean, it probably still didn't because it's like, it's a lot, right? It's a lot. But that brings me here to the conclusion and final thoughts on the audacity for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds to file this letter on June 6th, 2025 to the judge for a motion to compel, and it states, on behalf of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, collectively the Lively Reynolds parties, we write pursuant to rules 1C and 4C of your Honor's individual practices to respectfully request an order compelling Wayfarer Studios, LLC, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Hees, Steve Soritz, It Ends With Us Movie LLC, Melissa Nathan, the Agency Group, and Jennifer Abel, collectively the Wayfarer parties, to respond to certain interrogatories propounded by the Lively Reynolds parties. The interrogatories at issue seek basic information regarding the identity of potential witnesses and documents relevant to the litigation. Despite receiving these almost 3 months ago, the Wayfarer parties have not provided a substantive response to almost any request. Instead, they have spent months trying to rewrite and narrow the interrogatories to improperly limit the scope of a highly relevant information that is uniquely within their possession, custody, and control. See Exhibit A, everything's sealed so you can't see what anything is right now. It is respectively submitted that the gamesmanship must be put to an end and the Wayfarer party be ordered within 5 days of the court's ruling on this motion to provide responses identified below. What I think is so nuts is like, girl, literally days ago, it was told that you're voluntarily withdrawing some of your claims, the most serious claims, because you don't want to give any of your own discovery, which is medical information, etc., which is always 100% used in cases like this or any other case where you're, alleging emotional harm. So it's just so interesting. And why do you think the Wayfarer people don't want to tell you who any of their contacts are, any of the people or any witnesses? Because y'all are shady. You're doing some criminal activity, and I think you have it in you to go to these witnesses, pay them a little bit, or cover it up, or offer them something big. I don't think the Wayfarer people, I hope that they don't even have to tell you who any of these people are, because y'all are shady criminals, in my opinion. But let's just see what they'd like. The Wayfarer party should identify the email accounts provided to third parties. As modified, the Lively Reynolds parties requested the Wayfarer party to identify any email account from May 1st, 2024 to date in which any third party, including but not limited to content creators or the media, had access for the purpose of communicating information of any kind, including messaging, talking points, guidelines, scripts, or other information regarding Miss Lively, Mr. Reynolds, the digital campaign, the CRD complaint, the actions. As counsel explained on several occasions, the Lively Reynolds party believe that the Wayfarer parties have engaged in covert tactics to communicate with third parties in a manner to avoid leaving a paper trail, such as by placing information in a draft folder or other email repositories and providing a third party with viewing access to the folder email, which enables the third party to view the information without leaving a digital trace. Oh my gosh. The Wayfarer parties have never denied that they engaged in clandestine communications. Okay, next, what else do they want? The Wayfarer parties should identify the reporters they have communicated with. Each of the Wayfarer parties are requested to identify all reporters and news or media outlets of any kind with whom you have communicated in any matter concerning Miss Lively, Mr. Reynolds, the CRD complaint, the actions, or the Lively Reynolds companies. To narrow the scope, the Lively Reynolds parties agreed to limit the date range from June 15th, 2024 to the present for all parties. Oh my gosh, that's so nice of you. Mr. Baldoni took to the offensive in response to her complaints on on-set misconduct, putting the retaliatory smear campaign in motion. Oh my gosh, I just can't. In their latest response, the Wayfarer parties seek to narrow the request. I think it's, how about you, Blake, Leslie Sloan, Ryan Reynolds, Stephanie Jones? I want to see who you were talking to. Okay, moving on. I mean, this letter is all very interesting, but for the sake of time, the Wayfarer parties should identify the content creators they communicated with. With the exception of It Ends With Us, each of the Wayfarer parties are asked to identify all content creators with whom you have communicated in any manner concerning Miss Lively, Mr. Reynolds, the CRD complaint, the actions, the Lively Reynolds companies, or the digital campaign from May 1st, 2024 to the present. As modified, the Lively Reynolds parties propose defining the term content creators to mean any individual or entity who seeds, generates, creates, or influences social media content or provides related digital or social media services directly or indirectly at the request of or so on behalf of any Wayfarer party or their agents or affiliates. What are they going to do when they realize that, like, Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties haven't talked to any content creators? I mean, what are they going to do when they find out this is all just baloney? What I think is so funny is they write here, and I think this is funny. The Wayfarer parties, let's just go back a little bit, and then this is the end, okay? Again, the Wayfarer parties do not and cannot dispute the relevance of this request. A key aspect of Miss Lively's case centers on the retaliatory social media campaign that began in summer of 2024, in which the Wayfarer parties weaponized social media with the help of content creators and created and disseminated content designed to eviscerate Miss Lively's credibility. Describing the Wayfarer party's retaliatory social media campaign. As such, the identity of these content creators is clearly necessary and tied to Miss Lively's claims. It must be provided. Yet, the Wayfarer parties have reportedly insisted on arbitrarily limiting the term content creators to only those individuals with at least 10,000 followers or subscribers on any single platform, and exclude niche individuals whose platforms are unrelated to the subject matter of this litigation. Now, they propose an entirely new term altogether that is limited to individuals that create or disseminate original content and who are engaged by any Wayfarer party in connection with the messaging, promotion, or reputational management concerning the subject matter of this litigation. Like other proposals, this too places too fine a point and appears designed to intentionally exclude certain individuals from being identified. As parties deeply entrenched in this entertainment and public relations industries, the concept of a content creator should not be this difficult for the Wayfarer parties to grasp, and it should not require a motion for the Wayfarer parties to produce this basic information, which can and should be promptly produced. And you know what I say to that? You first. You first, Blake. Where's your doctor's notes? You didn't make one call to your therapist? You didn't get nothing? You were in so much stress. I mean, you said also in your CRD complaint many times how this affected you. How there was days you couldn't get out of bed. It affected your kids, your life, your husband. You turned down gigs, da-da-da-da-da. You first, babes. You first. Huh? I think that the Wayfarer people aren't giving you people's names is because you have repeatedly leaked information, medical records. You used a illegal lawsuit to get a sham subpoena for phone records. I mean, y'all are shady. The way you harass and bully people, you put in the New York Times and in your CRD complaint real content creators who then have been since then further harassed and bullied because of you. And now you want their names, more names of people. So what? You too can further harass and bully them? Come on now. I know y'all aren't serious. Because the Wayfarer people, I think it was a week or two ago, told the judge you haven't given them one thing. And now you're filing another motion to compel. Oh, lordy, 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 lordy. Anyway, that's it for me today. It is Saturday, so this was a little bit of a bonus video. I just wanted to get it out there. I just hope that this kind of simplifies it and you see what's going on. You can always go to Eiko or Brett's Twitter as well as their social media. They have a Dropbox folder where you could really see, I mean, there's a couple of videos that are over an hour long that really go side by side and paint a very clear picture. And I hope justice will be done, not only for the Wayfarer people, but also for these two individuals as well, and for anyone else that have suffered because of Blake and Ryan and their reach and all of the people who assist them in covering these things up. have the best weekend. I will see you on Monday. I hope you have a great day. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye.